Welcome to DeelySportScience.com's Beginner Coach vlog series. This is a great idea by Mark Deely as part of DSS, who came up with this idea of a vlog series aimed at beginner coaches, because a lot of our members are beginner coaches, and it's good always for us to remember that when we're working in professional sport and at the more senior end, inter-county or development squads of GA especially. It's good to always remember that a lot of our members are taking up positions for the first time, or working with children, or working at a slightly lower level. This will be aimed more at adults, and I'll explain why at the very end, why we have to be wary of this kind of stuff with children. But there are relevant things here to be applied to all children age groups as well, if you are smart and you take the key learning points from it. And also organised by Ross Bennett. Thankfully, even though he's been a busy man in the last while, he managed to take the time to organise this vlog series, so thanks to Ross. So Ross gave me a topic, setting up a system of play. And when I got the topic, I thought, how am I going to speak about that? And I'm not quite sure how to approach that. And then, as any learned man would do, he spoke to his wife. She knows plenty about sport, but not particularly as much as myself about GA or such things, but she steered me in the right direction about the kind of things to maybe touch on, and as always, just talking about it with somebody else brings out some ideas and topics and points that we want to speak about. So always a good approach. Okay, setting up a system of play. I've broken it down into 10 points. The first one is, and probably the most important one, is your coaching philosophy and principles of play. And what I mean by that is that, I've spoken about this before, if you as a coach or as a manager can't sit in front of a blank piece of paper and write out your coaching philosophy in one page, you don't have one. So what I mean by that is how you like your team to play, how you approach the game. Are you attacking orientated, defensive? Do you like your team to carry the ball? Do you like to kick a lot? But then breaking it down more as regards, how are your defence? What kind of fullback do you want? I'm speaking in terms of GA now in this. What about your wing backs? Do you want very attacking orientated wing backs, very defensive players that hold, players that come in the pitch, players that stay out wide? And going even further than that, what about your principles of play? So from a principles of play point of view to your attackers, for me personally, I love and have always done individual brilliance, 1v1, taking on your man or woman, speed in attack, penetration, get the ball in early to furthest forward pass, that's a safe forward pass. From a defensive point of view, get narrow, support the first defender, all of these things you need to transition. Then obviously transition at speed, but where, how, at what moments of the game. So you need to write down, these are my principles of play for attack, defense, in transition, and then this is my general overarching coaching philosophy. That's important, because some coaches will innately be more defense orientated, some will be more attacking. I myself was always am, I hope, still quite a positive attacking minded coach, and that's my philosophy. I'm never going to be that ultra defensive type of coach, so that's why sometimes I need somebody with me to help me out. Okay, that's that. Moving on to number 2 then, but when enacting your system of play, you need to mould that around to the players available to you, or mould it to your resources or your raw materials, or however you want to say it. It's all very well wanting to be really attacking, ultra, expansive in play and spreading the ball out wide and spraying passes all over the pitch. But if you don't have the players to do it, you're going to struggle, and you're going to have to change that. So that's quite important as well. I don't believe actually that you completely, the players or the type of players that you have and the quality completely dictate your philosophy of play or your principles of play or system of play, because I think you need to have a philosophy yourself that's innate to you, that's unique and personal to you, but it's molded by your players also. My advice then is implement it early. A lot of people will focus on pre-season to get players fit, to get ready for the first game, to just let things bed in, let things settle down. It's not my approach. I mean, from like day one, night one, implement this system of play from the get-go. Right in the first session, start talking about tactics, start talking about your system, start talking about your setup, what happens, when you go a couple of scores down, when you're in front, what happens when you're playing away from home, what happens when you're in front of a big crowd. I'm a big believer in just straight on, bang, hit them with this stuff right early, at the very beginning, set out your stall, this is what we're going to do. With that then, you need to facilitate buy-in. I'm not saying like create buy-in or dictate buy-in, it's like facilitate that. Obviously a big thing is get your leadership group of players, get talking to them, make sure they're buying into it, make sure they believe in it. That can be done in a multitude of ways. So you can't dictate to them, you have to make sure that they actually believe in it. You can do that in two ways. First of all, by showing that the system of play that you're enacting is good, is really, really good, and it works. And second of all, by showing that you're a top quality coach and you're a top quality manager or whatever it is. So you need to show your ability. You can talk till the cows come home about, this is what we should do and this is what we are doing. But until you show that you have quality and the system has merit, they will not have the same buy-in as you would like them to have. I'm not a believer in starting off with a big massive meeting, because in my mind that's talk and that's saying things that you haven't actually backed up. Anybody can stand in front of a group of players and tell them what I will do and what we should do and this is how it's going to be. For me, get on the training pitch. I'll see you there, lads, on the pitch. I'll show you what I can do and then we work from there. And that's how you create buy-in my mind. Following on from that then, number 5, integrate it into everything. And what I mean by that is like in the warm-up, you can have aspects of it. In the skills practice, in the tactical scenarios, in the phases of play, in the games at the end, in the running, the conditioning at the end, in the locomotive skills section after the warm-up, right across the session, right across psychosocial aspects of the whole group as well. Social activities. There are ways to integrate this system of play into everything. Cooperative games at the beginning, problem solving, fun things, whatever it is, you're all the time referring back. How does this relate back to the system of play? And even things like if you're part of your team WhatsApp group, you're posting articles, you're posting little videos, you're posting little information about little bits about this system of play. Maybe something that Barcelona do, that the New Zealand rugby team do, the Irish rugby team, the Olympians, whatever it is, whatever system of play you have in place, whatever kind of philosophy of approach, you're integrating it across the board in everything. It's simple habits. It's the constant, consistent, same simple message over and over again, and the players get used to that then. Perfect it, number 6. So practice it. I know you might think that's the most obvious thing ever to say, but the amount of times I've been in dressing rooms where on a big day or on a match day, all of a sudden, or the night before, all of a sudden there's a new system of play. There's a new tactic. This player is going to be expected to do that job. Something changes, crazy kind of stuff that all of a sudden we're going to go in this direction when previously we had gone in that direction. So I'm saying perfect it The way you perfect it is all of the above, but you practice it on the training ground. You replicate it and repeat it again and again and again. With that as well, you look at all aspects of it. So even, for instance, I am also a big believer in unopposed or semi-unopposed practice as well. So put them in different scenarios on the pitch, run through it, this phase of play, get them used to it, but also obviously get into the opposed section of it as well. And then you practice, repetition, over and over again. Number 7 then, extend it. And what I mean by that is you have your system of play. Now what else? What else can you add on to that system of play then? I don't mean change it or do something completely different, but what I mean is actually just a little bit of extension of it. So if you think about at the beginning when I was involved with London, we would have 4 set goalkeeping kickouts at the beginning of the season. As we went on, as it was embedded throughout the season, we add another 1, we add another 2, slight varieties of that. So just an extension rather than a completely different system of play. So what else? Can we go deeper? So your players know now what you want from them and how to play this game. Can we add other layers, so extra layers all the time then that become embedded? You don't hit them with it straight away. You don't hit them with too much complexity, but you add an extra layer all the time. Number 8, multiply it. So especially at the higher end level of the game, if you're coming with one system of play to big games, you may struggle. I'm not going to say you'll definitely struggle, you might struggle. If you look at the likes of Derry this season in the All-Ireland Senior Football semi-final, other teams as well, you need a multitude of systems of play. You'll still have your general, this is our go-to default way of playing, but then you need additional different ways of playing as well. Galway are a good example of that actually. They were tested in lots of different ways and they came up trumps, right until the end. So I'd say multiply it. You need different aspects. You need to work on all these things. At the beginning of the season, I'm going to focus on this, but as the season goes on, I'm going to extend that one system of play, but actually I'm going to say, okay, if we're chasing the game, if the other team have dropped off us completely, now how do we play? It's going to be something different. So you need to practice that as well rather than just talk about. Don't just talk about it. You need to actually practice it and implement it. Framework it. And I'm a big believer in that. I was talking to somebody today, a senior lecturer, and I was just saying the longer I'm working in sport, the more I believe that you need to framework stuff, structures, systems, put things in place. You want things in place that if you're gone tomorrow, for whatever reason, things can roll on more or less to the same level and there's structures there in place. So framework it in terms of throughout the academy system, the under 20, the seniors, the under 20s, the under 17s or 18s or whatever it is, that they're generally following a set kind of system of play. With lots and lots of flexibility, obviously. So there's framework there that people can say, this is how we play. It's like I've said to the Wexford High Performance Steering Committee, if Wexford were out there playing and they didn't have those great purple and gold jerseys on and they had just certain bibs, would somebody know that that's a Wexford team? So would they recognise that, right, that way of playing, that's a Wexford way of playing? Now, I would have thought back in our heyday of like 2008 and some of those kind of years, you could say, okay, that's an attacking, energetic Wexford team, especially with Matty Ford playing with us. I'm not sure you could say that now, so that's something important to kind of implement. But, and there's often a but and a however. Lastly, number 10, never be a slave to it. Ever. Never be a slave to it. And that's for a number of reasons. Firstly, and I'll be very strong on this, no need to implement it with children. If you're looking at your under 12, 10, 12, 14, into under 16s, I kind of feel that under 16 starts to get a little bit more serious. But let's say below that, your kind of youth phases or children phase, all you're thinking about there is like ball mastery, principles of play, 1v1, attacking, you know, all the skills of the game, playing all the different positions, learn your trade, learn your craft, hone your craft, you know, all the skills, all the techniques. Okay, introduce little tactical bits and pieces, but no need for kind of systems of play with that. If there was a system of play I would have, is play with abandon, play with attacking vigor and energy, and just go out and enjoy it and stuff like that. So that's what I would say about children. But also flexibility is needed. As I mentioned before, that in any given day, in any given game, you're going to be thrown different challenges. So you need to be able to respond to that in different manners. So you can't be a slave to a system. You want players that are, you know, kind of like individual thinkers, creative people that can think on the fly and can react and can use their flair and stuff like that. So make sure you're never a slave to one particular system. The other thing, and the last point I'll make, are those advancements in the game, that the game changes. You know, there's a great thing that Chris Ramsey says to all our academy players in QPR at the moment, where when he's talking to the under, you know, maybe the under 14 team of academy players, it might take them 10 years to get to first team level at QPR or elsewhere. Managers on average change every 18 months. So you're talking about 6, 7, 8 different managers in that player's time. By the time they go from under 14 to age 24, every single manager, every single head coach might have a different way of playing. Players need to be adaptable. So you need to prepare those players to always be adaptable and to be flexible. And in advancements in the game, things change. You know, the game went from being just played as you see it back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Tyrone and the likes came in then with a more defensive approach. Donegal, Kerry responded back with kind of talent and that ability, that attacking ability with Gooch and Declan O'Sullivan, some of those. And then Donegal, Jim McGuinness brought it to another level. Then we see Dublin responding back, even though they're defensive, but also they can mix it with the best in attacking as well. And now the game is kicking on even again, very attack orientated in some ways with a strong defence, very progressive and positive, pushing up on kickouts. So you always have to be ready for the next advancement in the game. So if you get stuck on just one system of play, you might get stuck in the past and you might get left going into the future. So it is important to think about those that flexibility and those advancements that can happen at all stages. Okay, that's it. That's our vlog in our vlog series, the Beginner Coach series, setting up a system of play. We've got 10 little factors and points to think about, and hope you enjoyed them, and see you on the DSS WhatsApp group and over on DeelySportScience.com.